When we write the history of crypto in like 2050, we're going to look back at this era and we're going to say this was the toy world era, the sandbox era of crypto. When people created all these like silly tokens, we developed the infrastructure and the products. But the next era is the era when like real things come on chain. So far, we haven't really seen privacy chains and privacy protocols really take off. Even Tornado Cash had something like 30,000 active addresses ever.
So what do you see as some of the biggest movements this year that impacted the industry?
It's great to see more and more activity across different chains. You know, Hyperliquid is around 10% of Binance's volume. You don't see as many people trade, right? You see, I think, at least 500,000 people have traded on Hyperliquid, but it's more whale dominant.
My name is Mia, and you're watching Global Blockchain Show. Today's guest is Alex from Nansen. Alex, welcome.
Good to be here, Mia.
You wouldn't believe what happened to me. I had someone messaging me on Twitter saying that this person I've never heard of this person before, that I had money to claim. Mm-hmm. And this person found this out using Nansen.
Amazing.
And managed to connect my wallet to my Twitter account. And out of goodwill, I mean, this person then asked me for some percentage of it. Mm-hmm. Came to me saying that I had some cash to claim. And I first thought like, well, this is
scam.
This is a scam. But then like they actually referenced the tweet from the actual company. And, you know, like I go and log in on this wallet. I haven't been using this wallet in a long time. But I log in and not only I have that, but I have more.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, okay, this is great. Like I should probably be using Nansen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And now we've made it really easy for you with our new app. So
I've heard
people struggled in the past to use Nansen because it's kind of overwhelming, complex, kind of hard to use unless you spend the time required to learn how to use it. But with our mobile app, we've basically stripped all of that away. And you just ask it. So you could potentially input your address and probably ask them, like, do I have any airdrops to claim?
Oh, that's amazing.
Who knows, maybe they'll find out.
We were just talking about it before we started recording. I also heard that you dropped the price, so people will be happy to hear this one.
We did. And actually, this is... we were contemplating, should we like do these releases at the same time, like release the mobile app and also announce our pricing changes at the same time? Because the risk is that the mobile app kind of overshadows the price changes. But the price changes are pretty insane, actually. So we used to have two pricing plans, Professional and Pioneer. Pioneer was $99 a month if you paid annually. Professional, $999. And now we've combined both of them into one plan, and it's $49 a month.
That's crazy.
In other words, it's basically 20x the value because you get everything you had in Professional plan now in this new Pro plan, which is much simpler. Like people would often complain that I'm on Pioneer, but I want these things that are on Professional, but it's like 10 times the price. So we've made it extremely simple for people now. You just buy the Pro plan if you want, $49 a month, and you literally get access to everything from Nansen. So it's we wanted to make the plan sort of a no-brainer. I'm not sure how much you use AI products, but if you like when I use ChatGPT or Claude, there you go. It's basically a no-brainer. Like economically, I can't believe I'm paying like 29 or 49 or whatever it is for these products. And we wanted to create that same feeling where like instead of you contemplating, should I buy this product or not, it's like, of course I should buy this product. It's like a no-brainer. So I think if you have $49 a month to spend on any product in crypto, our product is by far the best value.
For the people that are watching this and maybe are not so familiar with what Nansen does, share a little bit what people might be able to do with the app.
Yeah. So Nansen is basically an X-ray vision on the blockchain. So you can see what people are doing in real time on every blockchain that you use. And people typically use it for discovery of new tokens, right? So you might ask which tokens are smart money buying that I should be looking at. They also use it to perform due diligence. So if you already know about a token that you're considering investing in, you could just input the ticker and you get lots of information about the token. And you can also use it for portfolio tracking. So you can plug in your Solana addresses, Ethereum, basically like your Bitcoin, anything on any chain, and you get one unified view of your portfolio. So you could think of it as kind of an on-chain super app. And you can also stake with Nansen now. We have more than $2 billion worth of assets staked.
Okay.
But most people use it as kind of an X-ray vision to figure out what's actually going on a blockchain. And like I was saying earlier, people found it quite difficult to use the sort of analytical UI that we have on web. And so the mobile app, which we launched on iOS last week and on Android literally this morning, will make everything a lot easier for you. So you just talk to it, just like you talk to ChatGPT, you talk to Claude, you can just ask anything you want. We actually help you also with personalized recommendations of what to prompt, right? So if you have in your portfolio certain tokens and the price is changing a lot, there's a pre-created prompt that says, hey, why is, Pangu up today? You just tap it, and then it does the research, and in like 10 seconds it comes back with
See,
the
this
reason.
is what I asked you last time you were on the podcast.
Maybe you're the inspiration.
We talked about the APT song.
Yeah.
You remember? Yeah.
I do, yeah.
I was like, this would be amazing. Like if you could like link it, like it's up because of this
Now you
song.
can do that. And the mobile app, many people associate Nansen with on-chain because that's our playing field, right? But the mobile app also has access to X. So it can combine the two things, and it could probably explain that phenomenon very easily. It could also do web searches. It could set up alerts for you. It's actually a surprisingly powerful product, and everyone should. It's free to download. You can use it up to 10 prompts per month, and portfolio tracking is free. So I think everyone should download it. You get a couple of Nansen points as well when you download it. So
I will do it right after this. Don't worry. I think some people are not so comfortable with being so exposed. I saw recently you tweeted something about Solidity Capital.
yes.
And that didn't sit so well with some people.
That's right. Thankfully, I met Jordi at KBW in Seoul, and we've buried the hatchet officially. So we're friends again now.
Okay.
But yeah, this is the nature of public blockchains, right? Don't hate the player, hate the chain. And it's the reality of trading on a blockchain. And so you could look at it two ways. One is that it's sort of difficult from a privacy perspective. I think the other way to look at it is that as it's kind of a way to level set for, retail investors who might not know what to buy and what the smartest money are doing, because you can monitor what they're doing on chain. So I think of it as kind of a way to create transparency for investors. And as long as you have the right tools that allow you to navigate all the information, I think it's a positive thing. But of course, there's always a bit of nuance, and like there's two sides to that coin: privacy and transparency.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that, especially for consumer use cases of crypto, you will get more privacy solutions. But so far we haven't really seen privacy chains and privacy protocols really take off. Even Tornado Cash had something like 30,000 active addresses ever when it was sanctioned. So it's not really an area that has a ton of product market fit. And I think actually maybe more people don't really mind so much that they're being tracked. It could also be that a lot of people don't even know that they're being tracked. Right?
That might be true.
Over the years, a lot of people ask me, do you get a lot of inbound requests to like delete your labels? We have almost 500 million labeled addresses in Nansen. And the reality is that almost the only requests we get are from liquid funds, like large liquid funds.
Makes sense.
Sometimes market makers, sometimes mostly directional funds. And to, corporate entities and funds, the answer is always no, we can't delete it. It's a journalistic endeavor. If individuals want to delete their name from an address, we will do that. But actually, not a lot of people request to have that done.
It might be that they're not so aware or so bothered by it.
Could also be, yeah.
I think like if someone is going to use this, they would probably also use it for like copy trading.
Yes, that's one of the canonical use cases, right? You look at what either copy trading of individual entities or copy trading in aggregate. So you look at like, here's the pool of all smart money addresses. A lot of them are buying, a specific token. I'm going to follow that trade and monitor their addresses such that if they sell, I'm going to sell immediately as well.
So you could, in a way, fight against insight trading in a way.
Yeah, or even potentially benefit from insider trading.
Yeah. Well, you can't fight it, but you can ride with it, I guess.
Potentially.
Yeah. So, what do you see as some of the biggest movements this year that impacted the industry? Because with all this insight, like share some of it with us.
Yeah, I mean, I've been talking about this for a while. I do think it's great to see more and more activity across different chains, right? So I think many people were sort of writing Solana off as like only a meme coin chain.
Yeah.
I think clearly that's not the case. They've done a lot on things like tokenized equities, tokenized securities, where I think they're going to just grow tremendously with more favorable regulations. So I think that's one area. Obviously, perps, is a big area. Hyperliquid is sort of the initial innovator in terms of the full stack perp stack solution.
Yeah.
Now you're seeing the clones come as well.
There's a proper competition there.
Yes. And so we've added a lot of features for Hyperliquid specifically. And so we've been tracking the P&L and the smart money on Hyperliquid. And although, Hyperliquid is around 10% of Binance's volume, that might have changed now. I'm not sure, but, it's a meaningful percentage of all the, like a sort of market share or percentage of all the volume of Binance. You don't see as many people trade, right? You see, I think at least 500,000 people have traded on Hyperliquid, but it's more whale dominant, right? And so I think also tracking what the whales are doing on Hyperliquid has been a bit of a meta. In fact, some people argue that this is like a flaw of Hyperliquid, that you can monitor people's positions and hunt them.
Yeah.
Right. So again, it goes back to like transparency versus privacy. So definitely those two are interesting. Also, there's been a lot of activity on Base. It's growing a lot. I think it's sort of rising to become clearly like one of the top L2s, if not the top L2. Arbitrum also, obviously landing Robinhood was big. And so I think like the multi-chain, future is actually the present, which is cool. And it makes our jobs more interesting and challenging because you have to monitor all these ecosystems.
Yeah.
And then there's a few other chains too, like Sui, that we're now integrating better analytics for because a lot of people want it.
Sui's been very active.
Yeah, totally. And so I think, the cynics are always a bit skeptical to new chains, right? They're like, oh, it's the next Ethereum killer, whatever. But certainly a lot of these chains have what looks like genuine usage. Of course, there's always going to be some inorganic usage too. But Sui seems like, I think Sui is one of the top 2 staked assets we've seen over the last months in our platform. People staking Sui with Nansen.
In Dubai, everyone talks about Sui. It's
Yeah.
very...
Yeah, there you go. So I think that's really interesting. So yeah, I mean, generally my sort of input when people now ask me, especially people who are like normies, ask me about like what to buy, I think you should just buy a broad basket of the public blockchains, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Sui, maybe Tron, which actually, if you look at the Tron price chart, it's basically up only since the inception.
Tron?
Yeah.
They always ask me about XRP.
XRP is, I will admit, like a big blind spot for me because there isn't a lot of on-chain data.
There's just a ton of marketing.
And I think there's a lot of marketing for sure. It's a very big organization.
Yeah.
We've sort of looked at integrating it, but frankly, we don't have a lot of requests for it. And from what I've seen, the on-chain activity is not really there. I mean, there's some on-chain activity for sure, but nowhere near like these other chains.
Yeah.
So if you kind of just go to CoinGecko and you kind of look at the top chains, besides, XRP and probably Cardano, the other chains actually have a lot of activity.
How is Near doing?
Near has some consumer apps that I think a lot of people in crypto might not even know about. So for example, I think it's called Sweatcoin.
Sweatcoin, I know.
Which had at some point, I think, 16 million monthly active users.
I used Sweatcoin before even crypto.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I've also had it on my phone, actually. I stopped using it because I got annoyed by the notifications. But I think they've managed to get certain usage in areas that are outside of like crypto Twitter. But overall, I think doing quite well. For a while, they were actually among one of the chains with the most monthly active users.
You mentioned it last time, I remember.
Yeah. I haven't looked at it very recently, but we could probably ask the app.
Who's on the downturn right now? Who do you think is not going to be, who might not be around in 5 years?
That's like, this is a good one where like people bring up the clip again once they actually succeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a bit dangerous to
Or
predict.
maybe you'll be right.
Yeah, I mean, the weird thing about crypto, like I said earlier about things like XRP and Cardano, is like even if you can't find anyone who uses it, or like they still have multi-billion-dollar market caps, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard to predict based on that, for sure.
Give me your wildest bet.
On who's not going to make it, or who's
In
going to
5
make it.
years is not going to be around.
Well, I would pick those two,
Which one?
XRP and ADA.
Okay.
But again,
we'll see.
you know, that space, it could be a mid-curve take because, you know, you haven't seen that much
you don't
activity around them, but they still have, I don't know, maybe they've just like cornered the supply of the coin, which means like it can't go down. And then you can just infinitely use it as collateral and borrow against it, right? That's actually what you probably would do,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So if Charles Hoskinson can like manage essentially all of the Cardano float, then he could just own the price, right?
Yeah.
He can just control it, and then he can borrow against it. He can get it listed as collateral. So, but like, do you know anyone who uses Cardano?
No. For a while, there was sort of like an insider meme.
It's like a YouTube coin. What do you call it? It's a social coin for Charles Hoskinson's YouTube channel.
Yeah, like there's all sort of things. I mean, I don't want to drag it too much more than it already is. Tell me, who do you think is heavily underestimated in the industry?
Oh man, this is the Alpha Leak portion. The one I've been looking at lately is actually one of the homegrown teams here in Singapore, which is a project called Sanctum.
Sanctum.
Sanctum. If you look at the top TVL rankings for the Solana ecosystem, they're essentially top 5 on TVL. They power basically all of the kind of branded liquid staking tokens for Sol. So think of Jupiter, Bybit, you know, a bunch of these other brands. But interestingly, their market cap of their own token, which is called Cloud, maybe that's part of the problem, that it's called something entirely different, is way lower than, for example, Jito, which is also a liquid staking token project for Solana. So, and they have similar TVL. So that is one project that I think is underrated market cap wise. I will admit I haven't looked very deeply at the tokenomics of Jito or Sanctum's token.
I've heard about Jito way more. Like there's more repetition.
Yes. And by the way, it's not like criticism of Jito. I think that's a fantastic project.
Oh, I mean,
I think probably Sanctum, if you compare the two, is like undervalued. Not financial advice. And you know, we are exploring doing something together with Sanctum as well. And this is kind of how I discovered that. What's going on with the market cap? I think another one is probably Layer Zero.
Layer Zero, huh?
Because it's used. I mean, like if you, like me, are bullish on a multi-chain, you know, thesis. Obviously, you're going to want interoperability and bridging between the chains.
Yeah.
You really want that part of the stack to be trusted in the sense that, like, I think actually brand matters quite a bit. And the Lindy effect, where like the longer you've survived, the safer it is, sort of as a proxy. Layer Zero, I think they crossed like 10 billion volume recently of all time. The price action has been pretty weak overall.
Yeah.
But that seems to me like a project that's going to do well. Again, it could be mid-curving it. Like it's very easy to mid-curve stuff in crypto where like, this is a great product, everyone uses it, but the token does poorly, right? Lido is a good example of that.
Yeah.
And like Aave arguably is like that. Aave is like one of the most successful crypto projects and products of all time. The price action, I mean, it's been not terrible, but it could probably have been better. Like there's so many, you know, tailwinds for Aave, right? Like stable coins, you know, you're just going to have tons of assets come on chain. All of these things should in theory benefit Aave. The price action hasn't really been amazing.
It's not really correlated in most of cases, like the price action and the performance of the company, it's not really
Yeah,
tied.
that's right. So I think like Lido is possibly the best example of that. Although you could also say that Lido has a big problem in that it is Ethereum only.
Yeah.
So that caps how large. You could argue that it's kind of reached its full potential because it has like 30% market share
Yeah.
of that category on Ethereum. And like the only thing you can hope for is Ethereum to grow.
Yeah.
So like, do you really want to bet? Then you might as well, buy Ethereum. So I think that's a big, big problem for Lido. In hindsight, I think that was a poor decision actually to only focus on Ethereum. I think probably they should have remained multi-chain, which they actually were in the beginning. They had Solana and Terra actually in the beginning.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a bunch of, I think, great products. Actually, not a bunch. There's a few great products and protocols out there, which I think are overall possibly underrated. Like Sanctum, I think the market cap is like 100 mil. Like it's very
There's
low.
probably more that are overrated.
Oh yeah, 100%.
What comes to mind?
Oh man, where do you begin?
Yeah.
Obviously, I think Cardano is like top of the list.
You think it's overrated? I don't see so many people talking about it.
I don't see anyone using it. I haven't seen any on-chain metrics that indicate that people use it. I think it's really about controlling the float of ADA.
Yeah.
That's what the game is at this point. There's obviously tons of other chains that have emerged that are more successful, right? Like even in the last couple of years.
Yes.
So the question is like, why would you use Cardano? Like, literally. And so
I hate this video. He's gonna clip it and be like,
that's fine. Like the people in the Cardano camp, I think, don't like me very much already. Yeah, and then there's a bunch of other tokens I think are generally disconnected from like what maybe people think they do.
do you think there's a trend that's gonna fade? For example, I was talking with a friend recently, and we were discussing if the meme coins are gonna turn into the creator coins, because there's now more of a push for creator coins, so more on like the individual level rather than, related to animals and things as such.
I don't know. I think meme coins are going to follow NFTs, which arguably followed ICOs in the sense that, you had like tens of thousands of them. Actually, meme coins, you have literally tens of millions, right? And so that means by definition almost, because of supply and demand, most of them are just going to go to zero. But you could have like a handful that do really well. And so if you look at the ICO wave, best ICO, I mean, besides like Ethereum, probably BNB. I haven't looked at the returns. I think it's like 10,000x, maybe 20,000x, right? So if you bought into the BNB ICO, you did very well as long as you held.
Yeah.
And, there's a handful of other projects that did well from that era, but literally it's like a handful, right? It's not like thousands. And with NFTs, I think similarly, punks, they have a lasting legacy. I think there's always going to be like a marginal bidder for punks. Similar with Pudgy Penguins. Naturally, surprise, surprise, I'm mentioning Pudgy Penguins on a podcast.
I'm always happy to hear about Pudgy Penguins.
And meme coins, I think similarly, right? Like there's going to be, who knows, like 10, 20 maybe that actually survive. Obviously, Dogecoin, like the innovator, maybe Pepe, maybe Pengu, who knows? There's probably a handful, and then the vast majority are going to go to zero.
What happens with the AI tokens?
What are the AI? I remember like this was like a meta at some point.
Yeah,
but
like earlier in this year, before Trump got into the scene, it was so promising. It felt like we were just getting started, and then all of a sudden it was like a sudden cut.
Yeah.
And then it's out of the scene. What happened?
I mean, I think it was largely an inorganic meta that people, like a narrative that people wanted to
Overhyped.
push, like overhyped. There's not a lot of substance there. I mean, I think AI is relevant for blockchain in the same way that it is relevant for software more broadly. Like every software product needs to be AI first going forward, like from now and until the next decades. But there was a lot of like forced narratives, right? We're like, hey, how can I combine,
Yeah.
AI with blockchain in a way that doesn't really make sense? So I think like if you look at our product, for example, it makes sense because it is literally AI in the front end that helps you do the research. And of course you would use a product that allows you to do that in 10 seconds instead of like 10 hours. Like, of course you would do that, right? But there's a very clear utility. And then the blockchain part is like, that's the data we're looking at. And ultimately, probably trading activity and transactional stuff you're going to do, that's on a blockchain. But that's just like those two technologies combined because they make sense. But if you're trying to like create some token that, I don't know, decentralized GPU usage or like most of the stuff probably does not make sense.
It was mostly around the AI agents. I was recently in SF, and obviously, the same way you go to New York, and most people are in crypto, or maybe it's just my own bubble, actually. But in SF, most people are into AI, and there's this underlining conversation that we might be, and when it's a might, it's probably most likely on an AI bubble. Have you had any conversations around?
Well, I mean, I think of course we are in an AI bubble. Like I think that's, but I mean, I think the wrong conclusion is then to write off AI entirely, right? That's like saying, you're in 1999. It's like we're in an internet bubble, and so there's no point paying attention to the internet. Like, of course you should pay attention to the internet,
But
right?
knowing that,
But you should know that it's a bubble, right? And I think like with AI, similarly, I think the hilarious thing with OpenAI and Oracle, the financial shenanigans that went on there were essentially like, okay, we'll both just like increase the value of our companies overnight. Seems a little bit silly.
yeah.
And so that's the kind of stuff that you could probably only do in a bubble.
It's hard to price the value of AI, right? Because in a
Yes.
way, like it's so transformative
Yes.
that it's very easy to either overvalue it or undervalue it.
Yeah, I think that's why when I say it's a bubble, it's more like you can get away with doing like
Very
half-assed silly things and people will still give you money, right? But of course you can do genuinely transformative stuff as well, right? So, and again, you could look at the internet bubble. There's obviously tons of transformative companies that came out of that. And similarly with AI, I'm a huge believer in AI, and I use AI products all the time. My master's degree is in AI. Like obviously, I believe in AI, and so we're definitely going to see robots and probably consumer robots, right, in households. Every software interface is probably going to be replaced with agentic interfaces, right? So there's a ton of stuff that's going to happen, and they will all make sense in hindsight. But you have to always be wary that certain people benefit from pushing certain narratives, and then other people will take advantage of those narratives, right? And like I've said this many times on different occasions, but I think crypto is especially prone to this pattern that happens with every innovation, which is that in stage one, you have the innovation, like the one product that is a genuine innovator. So if you think of perps dexes, it would be Hyperliquid. If you think of smart contract platforms, it would be Ethereum. If you think of NFTs, maybe it's punks. You could say maybe it's CryptoKitties, but meme coins, Dogecoin. There's always like one innovator that like creates the narrative.
Yeah.
Then you move on to stage two when people start with the clones, right? So it's like, okay, after Ethereum, you get Cardano, you get EOS, you get like a bunch of these like clones. Or with NFTs, you get apes, you get hash masks, you get arguably pudgy penguins and so on. You get like sort of variations or copies of the innovation. And then stage three, people find a way to manufacture the cloning, which leads to industrialized oversupply. So you go from like one innovation to like a handful or a few hundred, a few thousands of like manual clones or copies to like possibly millions of clones. And to me, like the perfect example of the industrialized oversupply thesis is pump.fun, which literally is a factory for meme coins.
Yeah.
By the way, this is not like, I'm not criticizing pump.fun. I think that's like very smart move to create that platform.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it leads to oversupply of whatever the narrative is. And if you think about it, NFTs, ICOs, meme coins, DeFi protocols, digital asset treasuries, layer twos, like almost all of these follow the exact same pattern. And I think as investors, it's really important to understand where we are in that.
And even like mobile apps, content on social media,
Yeah,
everything.
that's right. Totally. So it's not, I mean, someone pointed out, yeah, this cycle is not unique to crypto. Arguably, all of capitalism and, markets create this cycle. And I think that's true. But in crypto, it happens way faster, right? Because you have permissionless innovation, which is generally a good thing. But it means that people like figure out the ways to just shamelessly clone and copy and like slightly tweak, and then to create the factories that ultimately create industrialized oversupply.
Give me your wildest bet for 2026. Your boldest bet.
I mean, I think there's something about tokenized equity, which I think is going to surprise a lot of people. I don't know exactly what the bet is on the 2026 timeline. I guess I would say there's going to be a tokenized equity that maybe would enter like top 20 CoinGecko or something like that.
Okay.
I don't know if that's, I haven't thought through this exact framing of the bet, but the point is, I think crypto up to today, when we write the history of crypto in like 2050, we're going to look back at this era and we're going to say this was the toy world era, the sandbox era of crypto, when people created all these like silly tokens and we developed the infrastructure and the products. But the next era is the era when like real things come on chain. And obviously, I would love to own, as an investor, a piece of a great business on a blockchain. And then you get all the benefits of DeFi, you get 24/7 liquidity, like all those different things. So that is, I don't think it's a wild bet. I think it's the most obvious bet ever, actually, in crypto. But I think it's going to surprise a lot of people that, holy shit, this world of equities and securities, maybe more broadly, is like way larger than the crypto world.
Yeah.
And so when all of that value comes on chain, that's just going to it's going to just crowd out a lot of the garbage, frankly. And, I say this as someone who loves tokens generally. It's not like I hate tokens. Like, obviously, I love a lot of tokens and I own a lot of tokens myself.
Yeah.
But I think people are going to be caught a bit maybe sidelined, or they're going to be surprised by the realization that our space is very small and the financial world that's out there of all other assets, real estate, equities, bonds, all these things is way larger. So I think to position for that, you have to probably invest in things that are going to benefit from that, right? So think of Aave as possibly a good example.
Yeah, this reminds me a lot of the narrative from 2021, the DeFi summer.
Yeah, in a way. But I think it's maybe going to be like, it's not a very catchy name, like Real World Summer or something. Like,
Real World.
It's going to be, because DeFi Summer was fantastic, but the main problem was that the source of the yields was largely unsustainable. It came from, yeah, DeFi Summer. So it created like food coin Ponzi's, right? And like I remember farming like kimchi finance and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
It was very fun and profitable, but it was not sustainable, right? But you could have a version of that where like, hey, the yield actually comes from native staking from layer ones and from real world assets, right? Like T-bills, dividends from stocks, and somehow that leaks into that space. And like, that's the DeFi summer we always wanted, in a way, right? That's the thing that actually has some sustainability to it.
Hopefully that's the summer we have next year. For everyone watching, make sure you follow Alex on Twitter and Nansen, and of course, Global Blockchain Show. Make sure you go download the app, now available on Android as well. And thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Alex, for joining me today.
Thank you, Mia.